Valentin Potocki, who became Abraham and was burned at the stake.
In the 18th century, a rich Samogitian converted from Catholicism to Judaism. Today you might ask, so what? People change their names and citizenships, and here we have one guy deciding to believe a bit differently in something no one's ever seen anyway. But some 300 years ago, this blew up in a huge scandal. Although we have no real information about this particular event, Count Valentin Potocki grew so famous that he became a character in comic books in Israel, and religious Jews refer to him as Ger Tzedek, a righteous convert. And they do all of that despite many unanswered questions. We don't know if he truly was a count, for example, and we don't know if his name was actually Valentin. But here's what the legend says. When he was young, Potocki traveled to Paris. There, in a winery, he saw a man reading a strange book in an incomprehensible language. It turns out the man was a Jew from Germany, and the book was the Talmud. Count Potocki developed a keen interest in Judaism, so keen in fact that he decided to study the Old Testament and other religious texts. While visiting Rome, he became completely disenchanted with Catholicism. There was sin and fornication, and everything was being bought and sold. So he decided to travel to Amsterdam and adopt Judaism. Even then, the Netherlands were already famous for all sorts of freedoms, including the ability to change one's religion without fear of retribution. It's unclear what drove Valentin Potocki to return to the Grand Duchy of Lithuania. Perhaps he hoped that in the small town of Ilya, in today's Belarus, he could live out his life without attracting too much attention. But his peace was a brief one. Count Valentin, now known by the name Abraham, was reported by a tailor, and Valentin Abraham was sent off to Vilnius, his hands and ankles shackled. Family, friends, and even the bishop did what they could to bring Potocki to his senses. "Why all this nonsense, Valentin? Return to the Catholic faith or they'll burn you at the stake." But he kept to his convictions. "I am an Israelite and my name is Abraham." Having failed to appeal to his soul, they then tried to seduce his body. Several beautiful women were sent into the former count's bedroom, but they soon re-emerged and ran off. Eventually, he was imprisoned in the Vilnius castle tower. His loved ones spent another year trying to change his mind, but it was all for nothing. The day of punishment arrived. The executioner pulled out Potocki's tongue and lit the fire. There were those who mocked him as they watched the scene, and they soon lost the ability to speak, their mouths permanently distorted. And those who carried the wood to the fire later returned to their homes, only to find them burnt to the ground. The finale of this legend resembles one from a bad movie. The morning after his execution, a letter arrived from the king pardoning Valentin Potocki, but all that remained of the count was a pile of ashes, from which eventually grew a strange tree with several trunks, thriving for a couple of centuries, where the abandoned Vilnius sports hall sits, gathering dust today. Around this same time, a very similar and completely true story was recorded in Vilnius about the burning at the stake of a Croatian named Raphael for his conversion from Christianity to Judaism. He also lived in the town of Ilya and also had his tongue removed, but no one in Israel draws comics about him.